The dream of all business owners is to be able to run a wildly successful business and have a life that you enjoy at the same time. I'm Carissa Karner, your host, and today my guest, Alvin Narsey, is going to share some tips and tools to show you how you can have a successful business and have the time and energy to also have an amazing life. I'm so excited for this. Alvin Narsey is known for his ability to simplify the fundamentals of growing retail businesses. He knows how to do this so well because he has had an amazing journey of buying and selling multiple pharmacy businesses in Australia over the past 16 years. Now, Alvin has a framework for implementing the basics. He focuses on cash flow and profit, very important. And he focuses on that from day one. And he helps his clients set up everything so that your retail business can run without you. That's amazing. Now, Alvin was trained as a pharmacist in Melbourne, Australia, and he bought his first business as a partnership just a few years after he graduated from university. And as a pharmacist, you are trained as a clinician, not how to run a business. And I can tell you, I know exactly what that feels like because I was trained as a therapist as well. That's another business that I have. And I was not trained how to run a business. So I totally get that. So with the help of coaches and mentors, Alvin, he quickly learned how to utilize systems and leverage to ensure that his businesses were fulfilling his lifestyle goals. So valuable. So now that Alvin has sold all of his businesses, he's embarking on his next adventure of traveling the world and helping other retail business owners create the lifestyle that they want, just like he did. So Alvin's uniqueness is sharing the skills that retail business owners need to increase their income, to provide value to their clients and customers, and at the same time, live a life of massive personal freedom. Whoo, so amazing. Alvin, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Carissa, thank you so much for having me. Wow, that's a really good bio.
It sure is. You've had such an amazing life. I mean, this is incredible. And your ability to do what you did for yourself and to share with others how to have that balance of a wildly successful business and a wildly successful personal life is just incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it took obviously a little bit of work, but I've been so fortunate. I've had, the right mentors, like you mentioned, and coaches to help me along the way. So I've really been shown from the beginning of what's possible to set up a life that you want. And I just followed their instructions. And so here I am.
Here you are. But how did you get to that point where you knew, something's got to shift here, or I need to make sure I set up my business in this way? How did you get there?
Well, I didn't know about any of this stuff, right? So when I first got into my first business, when I was 26 or 27 years old, I was young and, I was a little bit impatient. I was really driven by money at the time as a little kid. So, I was always used to sort of trying to hack the curve, if you will, trying to get results really, really quickly. And one of the ways I had often done that was to seek help. So I had no issue getting help. So I joined, or I hooked up with my first business coach, Casey. And part of the process of working with most coaches, any coaches now, and in fact, I do it with my clients as well, is to sort of understand what you want out of life and, what's really important to you. And it turns out that, I really value adventure, freedom. I hate being chained down. So that's what a really, really big thing for me. So, when I discovered this and when we discovered it together, working with my coach at the time, then, what's going to make you happy is when you're really living and pursuing and fulfilling what's really important to you. So that's how we set up the business at the time.
That's incredible. So you just knew from day one, you knew what you wanted and you sought help so that you could set it up exactly like you wanted to. I think so many business owners, they don't do that. They get lost in the weeds and they get so overwhelmed and so overworked.
Exactly. It's exactly right. And look, I wouldn't say I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to get results really quickly, but I didn't realize that freedom, adventure, and all those kind of things, and happiness, more importantly, I didn't realize how important that was until I went through this process with my coach when I got into my first business. So yes, I really wanted to accelerate the curve and get results. But then as a byproduct of working with a coach, I discovered all these things about myself. And one of the questions I had with Casey, is like, why do we need to do all these kind of things? And, the same questions that my clients ask me now. And it's basically when things get tough, because it's really a challenge when you're running a business, and especially if you want to start growing your business. And so when things get stuck, when things get really tough, you really need to fall back on your vision and your understanding of why you're doing all this to keep propelling you forward. And it's usually beyond money anyway, as a motivating factor. So that's one of the reasons why he did it. And that's the same reason why I do it with my clients as well, is get an understanding of what you really want for your life.
That's amazing. And you really speak to the value of having a coach, that you
Yes.
wouldn't have even known to think about those things if you
No
didn't
way.
reach out for that support. And that's
Yeah,
now what you pay that forward. You do that for your clients.
absolutely. So I had no idea I was going to be doing this. When I sold my my last pharmacy business last year, I was working with a different business coach at the time, Glenn. And he was like, "What are you going to do with yourself?" I was like, "I'm not sure. I might buy another business. I'm not really don't know." And he suggested, he goes, "You've been a really good client. I think you'd be really good doing what I'm doing." And I was like, "What, be a coach?" And he's like, "Yes, absolutely." And I was like, "Well, what am I going to coach about?" So one, he managed to, sort of throw that value proposition in my face that I would be a good coach. But when it came to working out what I would coach on, he kind of gave me this really awesome example. He says, if you could go back in time and meet your younger self, what would you tell yourself? Or what would you want of someone to have told you to really accelerate your journey? And so that's exactly what I'm doing. I just developed a program that I would have given to my 26 or 27-year-old self, and helping other people, because I'm sure I'm not the only person that was going through that kind of situation, right?
Absolutely. And that's beautiful. I love how you think about giving this gift to your younger self in a way you're kind of tending to that younger Alvin inside while you are
Exactly.
also just giving this gift to your clients. And
Yes.
I love how you point out that there are things about ourselves that we can't see without somebody outside of us. We're kind of in the forest of our lives. And with
Absolutely.
a coach can see that bigger picture and tell us about things about ourselves that we may not otherwise realize.
Absolutely. And it's through that coaching process of realization, because as like you mentioned, a coach can really ask you the right questions and, get you thinking down a different path that you normally not would have, even really thought about in the first place. Which is what a coach should do, right? They should challenge you. They should also lead you to success and whatever goals that you want. But yeah, that whole process of inner inquiry and, having a sounding board to bounce off ideas and guide you in the right path, I think is so important. And, I think the whole world is realizing that, this is, I think we're seeing the growth of more and more coaches in the marketplace, which is great. And consequently, a lot more individuals are realizing the benefits of, getting some help using a coach or a mentor or something like that.
Absolutely. That landscape is shifting in that way. I see
Mm.
that too. I would love to hear too, if you're willing to share.
Sure.
You and I talked the other day and you were telling me about your whole journey of getting to where you are, and you have quite
Yep.
a story. Would you be
Mhm.
willing to share some of that today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where do you want me to start?
With your trip where I don't want to give it away, with your
Okay.
trip
From the
where
trip.
something
Perfect.
massive happened to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah. So when I finished university, I studied my pharmacy degree, as you know, and I worked for a little while. And it's typical where I was living in Australia at the time to go overseas. So I decided to go overseas. I was going to go backpacking for 1 year. But anyway, 2 weeks into my trip, I had a major accident. I got hit by a truck in Laos, which is in Southeast Asia. Um, and I had one of those. I was in the middle of nowhere in this beautiful little town, and the operator of the tour that I was going on that morning, because I was going whitewater rafting, he canceled the tour, and I had a couple of one lady who was doing the tour with me, who was an American doctor actually, and so she came with me and the tour operator. They drove me back to the capital of Laos, Vientiane, to the Australian embassy. Anyway, long story short, I got flown that night to Bangkok, operated on the next day. So my elbow got damaged, like a bit of it got chopped off by an oncoming truck. Basically, I got hit by a truck. And so I spent the next 2 weeks in hospital in Bangkok, which was really super fun. Because for me at that time, I was backpacking and, I was staying in budget accommodation, hostels and that kind of thing. And, when they found out that I was an Australian citizen and I had insurance, etc., the insurance company had organized this amazing, it was actually an American hospital, but the American hospital was also like this beautiful, it was almost like a hotel, basically. So I got really, really well taken care of. My mum was ringing me from Australia. It was like, I'm coming. And I was like, Mum, you don't need to come. I've been taken care of. I've got 3 nurses looking after me. The food is excellent. The surgeon was amazing, so yeah, I had that experience, and then I flew back to Australia, spent another 6 months at home, another round of surgery on my elbow. And actually, it was that event was sort of the impetus that sort of propelled me forward at a very young age. Eventually I got into business at 26 and 27, because, when I got hit by that truck and, I was being driven to the capital of Laos, Vientiane, I was having that cliched movie moment of dropping in and out of consciousness. And then, and then my mind realizing that, what am I doing with my life? I almost just died. I haven't accomplished anything. What do I really want to do? So I had that moment. And so, once my elbow got better and I could drive again, I started working again. That was a real drive for me to really get into business and sort of move my life along in the next direction or level.
That's incredible. So so often people say, oh, it was like getting hit by a truck. Oh, you actually
Yes,
got hit by a truck.
I literally got hit by a truck. There is a piece of my left elbow that's lying on the ground somewhere in that village. It's
Oh,
hilarious.
a part of that village. You're a part of that village forever.
I am.
Wow. So you're walking, you're going on this walk and you literally get hit by a truck. And that had a profound impact on your life, that you had that
Absolutely.
kind of like you described, that moving moment of realizing I really need to do what matters to me in my life.
Yes, I need to do something with my life, because at that time I was, I just finished university. I was partying a lot. I was DJing a lot, so that was a big part of my life. But yeah, this really helped me realize that how short life is. And I really, once I really need to start to do something with my life. So that was the impetus for me. So I don't think it's necessary, but it certainly helps.
So you're not advising that every
I'm not
entrepreneur,
advising
business
that
owner
you,
should go hit by a
correct.
truck.
I'm not advising you should go and have a near death, a life or death experience, or, get hit by a truck intentionally. Not at all. But it just so happened that's what happened to me. And that was the impetus that was needed for me to really move forward and do something with my life.
And so many people have that hit by a truck moment. Maybe they're not getting hit by an actual truck, a literal
Yeah.
truck like you did, but there is a figurative truck that wakes you up.
Yes. There's something most people, not all the time, but, you tend to hit rock bottom, either with your finances or with relationships or business, and something happens and that sort of, drives you to pick yourself up and become even better than before. Yeah. So this happens, like you said, quite a lot. It doesn't need to happen, but yeah, you find that a lot of people that it does happen to, they kind of running around like the road runner, right? They're just a little bit in a hurry to get stuff done, because you just realize how fragile life is and how short life is.
Oh, it's so true. Do you think that this experience impacted, fast forwarding to when you did start that business and you hired a coach and you were able to identify those things that are important to you? Do you think that this experience impacted what was important to you in that moment?
Absolutely. It's almost like that was one of the things that made me realize that I wanted to get, and that time, granted, I was a lot younger, I was motivated by money. So, that was one of the reasons why I was like, I'm running out of time. I'm going to get all the help I can get and let's go. So, yeah. And, as I've moved on in life and gotten a little bit older and bought and sold businesses, and, you realize that, okay, another cliche, money isn't everything. And, you start to understand what your values are even better and what's most important to you. And, so for me now, it's like freedom and adventure and, to be able to do the things that I want to do. And if I can get help with anything around that, that allows me to enjoy my values and to be more in my happiness a lot more, I'm definitely up for exploring that.
Wow. That's a great take on life.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, with all that being said, with all you've learned in this journey that you've been on, from all the way from even before you got hit by that truck, all the way to today, what are some of the things that are the most important pieces that you tell your clients? Like, what are some of the things that you think are most important for them to think about or focus on?
Absolutely. So, I think one of the things we touched on earlier, and it's a really big thing for me, is to sort of understand your vision, your mission in life, what your values are, what makes you happy. So I think that's a critical piece. Excuse me, because a lot of people don't know what that even is, right? We don't even have these conversations, usually not within our peer group or with friends, and certainly not with ourselves. And it's a really hard conversation to have because it almost borders on a little bit of the woo-woo things and people get a little bit uncomfortable. But like I mentioned before, especially with the clients that I work with, retail business owners, it really is the impetus to move forward when you really get an understanding of what is this all about? What is I all about? What am I really trying to create? So that's one thing. Having a vision for your life, I know is so important. The next thing is I like to keep things really simple. And I think as human beings, and especially now, we tend to overcomplicate things. We overcomplicate the way we run our business. We overcomplicate our lives by trying to do too many things and accumulating too many things. So I think simplicity is one of the lost keys, I believe. And it's worked really, really well for me to simplify my life and to really simplify anything that I do. If I need to grow a business or if I need to learn a new skill, I think it's really important to understand what the fundamentals are and trying to figure out those fundamentals and work on those first before we, move on to the next stage. And of course, it's so easy to get distracted right now, right? In 2022, you can get distracted on your phone. You can get distracted with all these apps and Netflix and TV shows. And then, of course, if you're in business, and this happens a lot to clients, and it used to happen to me, is you get distracted by all these different ways that you can grow your business and marketing plans. And one guru's come out with one PDF, and you really spend your life jumping from one strategy to the next without really giving each strategy a time, the time to work. So I think so vision and simplicity, I think, are two of the most important keys that I instill to my clients.
Oh, wow. That's so powerful. And talking about vision, that being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, being any kind of a leader, there are times when things get hard.
Yes.
There are times when things can be really challenging. And if you don't have that thing, that vision that is helping you take those steps when the way becomes so difficult, it can be very easy to just give up.
Absolutely. And that's what happens, right? So if we don't have a greater purpose, if we don't have something that we're working towards beyond a monetary, a monetary quotient as well, it gets really, really hard, like you said, especially, when we start working on your business and you start building your business and you want to take it to the next level, you've got to work on systems and procedures, and, you've got to start hiring a team, and you've got to do all this fun stuff. And at the moment it gets really, really difficult. If you don't have an overlying vision to move forward, you're going to give up very quickly. It's so easy just to either put it aside or to do a very sloppy job and not do a good job at all. So I think it's really important. Really, really important.
Yeah. And if you've not been hit by a truck, you may not have had the opportunity to really think about that. So you need someone like you to come in and to really
Yes.
help find what's important.
Yes, absolutely. And, like a lot of coaches have a process, and I'm sure you do too, but it's just about going through that process with somebody else. And, they'll challenge you and they'll open up your mind, and you'll create those insights that you develop and that you become aware of are just so useful. And ultimately, I think, as human beings, I think all of us want to be happy and really happy, and whatever that means for us and how that happiness looks for us. And I think that's overall, I think that's one of the things as humanity that we're all trying to work towards, whether we know it or we don't know it in a roundabout way. But yeah, I think it's so important.
Mm. Yeah, and that's something that unites us all and connects us all is we
Totally.
all try we are all trying to find our way to feel
Mhm.
happy and to experience joy in
Yeah,
life.
I think
Yeah.
happiness, joy, and I think the other thing is whether we realize it or not is our, the human ability or the human want to provide value and to care for others. So, like just maintaining that human connection. And also when you start to provide value to others and, and be compensated for it as well. But that piece is such a human piece that I think a lot of people either don't discover or they get about it in another way, in a long roundabout way. But I think once you find when people hit that spot where they're realizing that they're providing value to a marketplace or to somebody else in exchange for their time and money, you'll find that a lot of these people aren't actually working at that stage, right? They're actually playing because this is not work. Because how can it be work when you're making somebody happy? You're providing a solution to somebody, and they just happen to be paying you for it. Was
Mm.
that a tangent? I can't remember.
Oh, it's a great tangent, such a sense of fulfillment. And maybe we can add
Yes,
those,
that's it.
you said the vision and simplicity
Mm,
and that feeling of providing value, having that exchange, that you are getting a financial exchange, but you're
mhm.
providing value and that feels so good and
Yes,
fulfilling.
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's so important. And it's a lot of people are doing jobs and, in corporate life, and, a lot of people are doing great things and they're totally fulfilled. But one of the ways to, if you're in a funk is to really look at your job or whatever it is that you're doing, your business that you're running, and, just trying to get an understanding of, is this really making me happy? Am I providing value to people that I'm serving? Am I really serving people, in a way that I can, that makes me happy, so on and so forth, and once you figure those things out, and it's not a long process, it's just a process and involves a little bit of hard thinking and being uncomfortable a lot of the time. I know it was for me and it is for a lot of my clients. Once you work through that, everything just opens up nicely.
Mm. I love how you said that too. If you're in a funk, so if
Yeah.
you are in a funk in your business, to think about those things, to come back to your vision, to think about, am I really providing value? Am I being of service? And if not, maybe it's time to call Alvin so that I can figure out how to do that. And then that other piece of simplicity, I think this is so valuable. I want to come back to that just for a
Yeah.
moment because you're so right. I can't tell you how many people I know who are just lost in the weeds of all the things as a
Yes.
business owner, as an entrepreneur. Like you said, this guru comes out with this thing. Somebody else says, do this, go do a podcast. No, you should focus on your email marketing, or no, you should focus on, and there's so much noise and it gets so confusing. And
Absolutely.
it really requires, I think, an outside, choosing someone outside of you to help you simplify those processes and to get very clear on what it is that moves the needle for your business.
Absolutely. That's very well said. You need to figure out what's going to move the needle. And yeah, there's so many distracting things. I think this is a function of, I guess, the new economy, the startup economy, where people are moving really, really fast in those kind of businesses where technology and strategies are rapidly evolving. And, that's great for large companies who have got a lot of seed funding coming through in venture capital. But if you're a solo operator, if you're a small business owner or a retailer, you can't get distracted into that world. Otherwise, you will just be the end of you. So you just need to really figure out what's going to be really important. And quite often, especially with running businesses, and a business, it's just about revisiting the fundamentals. Whatever industry you're in, there's got to be some basic things that you need to have covered in your industry, and hopefully you can research them and figure them out, or work with your coach to figure it out. But I truly believe in whatever industry that you're in, once you've understood, mastered, and started implementing the basics, only then, I think we should be moving on to the next stage and trying to figure out some of these other things.
What a great point. Yeah, I had a guest on recently, Shay Wheat, and she talked about matching. We're talking about event producing and matching the events or the videos or whatever it is that you're doing live, matching that to where you are in business. And I think that's what
Yes.
you're speaking to here too,
Right.
is that it's so important to know what stage of business you're at, because, if we stage them 1 to 5, if you're at stage 1, but you're trying, you hear some guru say you need to do stage 5 things, it's just going to fall flat. That it's so valuable
Absolutely.
to have a coach like you come in and say, well, this is what you need for this stage. These are the basics
Absolutely.
that we need to cover first.
Absolutely. Yeah. That whole level 1 to 5 analogy that you gave is perfect, because yeah, quite a lot of people when they're starting out, the things that you do in the beginning of your business adventure are going to be totally different to the things that you're going to be doing, later on when you've achieved a few things. So, but quite often, like you said, we look at the people at the number 5 and we try and look, what are they doing? And we try and emulate what they're doing, or we try and implement what they're doing. But it's really not going to work because we haven't set up the fundamentals in our business first. And it's a really hard pill to swallow to see these people like, oh my God, he's doing this. I would really want to do that as well. It's really tough. But yeah, so simplicity is the key.
Simplicity is the key. Wow. So if there was one thing that you wanted people to take away from our conversation today, or even if we haven't talked about it, one tip that is like, this is the most important thing for somebody starting out in business to
Yeah.
know or do, what would you say that is?
Yeah. I think we've covered it extensively. And I really can't not help talking about understanding the vision for yourself, what your values are, what excites you, what's going to make you happy. I think it's this concept is often overlooked. And like I mentioned, once you understand what it is, you're going to obviously realize some amazing things about yourself, but it's also going to be the impetus for you to drive yourself forward in your business. You still need a vision for your business because the business has a vision, mission, values. And a lot of us are sort of used to that concept of having that for our business. But I think it's really important for us as individuals to have that, actually to know that about ourselves. And if we don't, to start that process, because, it's a constantly evolving process of understanding ourselves, I think. And the sooner you start that, the better, I think.
Can you give us one question? What if someone's listening and they're thinking, I really want to do that. I really want to focus more on what my personal vision is, but I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
What question would you ask someone, or would you say to ask yourself?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple of versions of this question. So, I really get my my clients to start looking at one of the approaches is, what would you rather be doing in your spare time? What activities would you start to be doing? And then, you can start to list off all these, if you didn't have to work, or if you only had to work 20 hours a week, etc. Okay. So when you're doing these activities, how does that make you feel? Right. And then, so, you can then start to put some terms against this, and then it'll be like, okay, wouldn't it be great? And when you start to feel that, what do you like as a person? So you're just kind of leading them down this little funnel, and they slowly start to realize that, oh, maybe if I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it keeps me fit, it makes me happy. And then, oh, I realize then, when I'm at work, my mind is a little bit clearer and I'm really happy. And it just goes on from there. So just that little bit of self-inquiry, I think, is really important.
That's
Start the process.
fantastic. I love this. I love how you start with, what do you already know that
Yes.
you love? What do you already do? What do you already know you love? And then you use that as a doorway to figure out that will lead you to the things that are most important to you, to understanding
Absolutely.
and clarifying and defining the things that are most important to you. That is a brilliant process.
Because I can't tell you what happiness is for you.
Mm.
And, most people are doing activities, or they've engaged, I don't know, I think this is probably a little bit too much Buddhist talk, but, there are innate things and personalities and traits and past lives within us that we just sort of really need to pull out, and, proclivities to activities and things that we like, and just our personality. So, yeah, so we use that metaphor of, what do you like doing in your spare time? How does that make you feel? And then, how does that travel on the next things that you do? And if you could put a name to that feeling, and we take it from there.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, sharing that process.
You're
That is
welcome.
such a gift. That's such a gift. And if you're listening, try that and notice what
Yeah.
you discover about yourself.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that I get my clients to do, which is not, I always hit up a little bit of resistance, is to start a little bit of a journal or a diary. And I know that's all the rage at the moment, all over the internet. But I think it's a really important that process of self-reflection. And you don't need to do a big journal. You can just, even just a little A5, just some notes. I think I encourage all my clients to start that early when they start working with me, because the notes and your experiences and whatever it is, then when you start to write, you start to realize things, and it's always good to look back upon.
It's a great way to have insights too. I mean, journaling, it may be popular now, but it's been around for centuries. People have been
Forever.
journaling to better understand themselves and
Totally.
to have insights about themselves, what they want, what they're struggling with. So what a wonderful suggestion to journal.
Yeah. I've been
Yes.
so lucky. I've been journaling now for like 13 years consistently and by hand. So I've got a whole heap of journals in storage back in Australia, of handwritten journals. And I'm still journaling today every night. So
Oh, what a fun thing to do, to go back and read some of those. I love it. I
yeah,
love it.
it is. It
Well,
is.
it has been an absolute joy having you on the show today. Wow, you've just dropped so many beautiful gems that I know our listeners are going to take away. And if somebody wants to work with you, if they want to connect with you, if they want to find out more about what you do, maybe they have a retail business and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I need Alvin to come in and help me. I want to be able to step away." How do we find you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm literally everywhere. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and across all the other social media platforms. Our website, alvinnarseycoaching.com. You can go there and just send me a message and we can continue the conversation from there. Really
Let
easy.
let's spell that out. So that's ALVIN as in Nancy, NARSEY.com.
Perfect. alvinnarseycoaching.com.
AlvinNarseyCoaching.com. And then
Yes.
what are your handles on the social
And
media sites?
yes, and it's just my name, Alvin Narsey, on LinkedIn and Facebook. And yeah, but if you throw my name into Google, I should be everywhere. So you'll see everything come up.
Wonderful. And we'll put all that in the show notes.
Thank
So
you.
if you didn't catch it, just go ahead and grab the show notes and you'll get all of the links to find Alvin everywhere and anywhere. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up today?
No, I can't believe how fast that went. That was so much fun. Thank you. It's always good fun to talk about things that I don't usually talk about. So yeah, this has been great. I hope your listeners and viewers got some value out of it.
Oh, I'm sure they did. You have so much to share, and this has been an absolute pleasure. I've lost my ability to speak. It's been so great.
Thank you so much, Carissa.